Good morning, Ultimate Hustlers. It is time for the Cortez Hustle Show, and we're talking the banker's secret today. The last place you want to keep your money. And I think this is critically important for those of you who are serious about building wealth. You've got to understand what you're doing wrong so you can make the appropriate adjustments. And for those of you who stick around to the end of today's episode, I'm actually going to show you where you can get double-digit returns on your money. Because one thing you got to understand about the banker's secret, one of the banker's secret is the rule of 72, and it tells you how long it's going to take your money to double. You need to get your money in situations where it's going to double a lot faster for you, especially those of you who are like me or a little late in the game in terms of building generational wealth. I've been at this just 6 years, right? 40 years old. So we're going to talk about that today. Do me a favor, comment in the chat where you're from, drop the name of your business or your brand, and smash that share button, ladies and gentlemen. And let's kick it. Yo, what's up, Ultimate Hustlers, and welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show, the business podcast for the entrepreneur of the 21st century. And I'm your host, Cortez Hustle. Our goal is to give you a behind-the-scenes look at how the world's greatest hustlers build amazing brands, scale their businesses to incredible heights, sell more, make more, and create mass movements that impact the world. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned vet or you're sitting on the sidelines with aspirations to one day unleash your inner hustle. This show will provide the insights into how pure grit, determination, and hard work has morphed into some of the most iconic brands and personalities and how they are moving the culture forward. You'll get a mix of solo shows featuring yours truly, as well as interviews and content from other hustlers that I either know personally or I've learned from or whose grind I've come to know and respect. And you'll also get exclusive recordings from our membership called Monetize My Life Academy, which you can check out at monetizemylifeacademy.com. That's a program where we go live every month with some of the best hustlers on the planet, sharing best practices on how we all can explode our brands with advanced branding and marketing tactics, business development strategies, and financial game planning necessary to build the empires we all desire. Again, that's at monetizemylifeacademy.com. If you like today's episode, chances are the hustlers you're connected to will like it as well. Share it with those in your network. And when you do, use hashtag Cortez Hustle so I can see you and hopefully give you a shout out and share you in my stories. So check out today's episode and make sure you subscribe to the feed on your favorite podcasting networks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cortez Hustle Show. I am, of course, your host, Cortez Hustle, also known as the one and only financial health mentor, everybody's favorite fatherpreneur, coming to you live and direct from the Extra Digit Movement Studios here in St. Louis, Missouri. Do me a favor, and I'll put this in the comments. Building wealth is a team sport. So many of us are trying to do it alone. Building wealth is a team sport. And if you want to join a winning team, the Extra Digit Movement is it. You want to learn all about our movement, all you got to do is inbox me Extra Digit or text keyword Extra Digit to 314-874-6887. And I'll get you some information on what we're doing and how we're literally fighting the war on poverty. We're talking the banker's secret today, the last place you want to keep money. And for those of you who hang around to the end of today's episode, I'm actually going to show you where you can get double-digit returns on your money. Yeah, we ain't playing no games, man. The name of the game is building generational wealth. How can you if you don't know what to do, what to look for, and where to go? So we're going to talk about that today. A couple quick announcements before we get the show rolling. Shout out to everybody who came out to the Family Wealth Workshop. Those of my St. Louis family, brethren, and sisterin. We had a wonderful time yesterday hanging out, teaching some wealth building principles and strategies. Listen, man, St. Louis will never be the same because what we're doing with the Financially Led Fathers community here in St. Louis, Missouri. For those of you who do not know what Financially Led Fathers are all about, it's a private Facebook group and actually an offline community where we are literally bringing economic empowerment to men in our community. We're helping them make money more efficiently, save and manage money more effectively, and grow and multiply money more aggressively. So If you have not already joined the Facebook community, if you're a man, ladies, this is for men only. No disrespect. I have another group where I teach families how to build wealth, but financially lit fathers is just for the men, because we got some issues that we got to deal with behind closed doors when it comes to our money. So we had a wonderful time yesterday. Also, for those of you who are at a place in your life and you're saying, man, listen, I need another stream of income. Right? I know that my job is taking care of my right now, but if I'm going to accelerate the rate in which I build wealth for my future, maybe collapse time so that I don't have to work to 65, and you know you need another stream of income, then I want you to text me keyword new stream. Text me keyword new stream to 314-874-6887. I want to personally coach and mentor 12 people this month. I've already got 3 people locked in. I got 9 more spots. If you make this decision before the end of the week, you can actually apply for our $99 credit. So instead of $229 to get started in your own business in the financial education space, $129 gets you started. And I'm going to personally coach and mentor you on how to build a solid residual income in this space while our professionals are working on your personal finances. So text me new stream to 314-874-6887. And I want to get you guys the information on how I can help you build a brand in the financial education space. But you got to be a winner. You got to be a go-getter. You got to be somebody who's committed, somebody who is available, somebody who's coachable, and you got to be ambitious, man. You don't build a business without ambition. So we're talking the banker's secret, the last place to keep money. And if you stick around to the end, we're going to give you a sneak peek into where you can get double-digit returns right now. No matter what your budget is, you can start a fund that will pay you 12, 13, 14, 15, 16% return on your money. So comment in the chat where you're from, drop the name of your business and or your brand. If you like a free business shout out. What's going on, Byron Chambers? Brian Chambers is in the building. So y'all know how we do it, man. We like to start the show with a quote of the day. And as I go through my day, I'm always listening to podcasts. I'm always trying to grow, and I'm soaking up information so that I can come back and bless you guys with a wealth of knowledge. And I was listening to the Ash Cash podcast, In the Vault with Ash Cash, and he was interviewing Wall Street Trapper. If you don't know who Ash Cash is, if you don't know who Wall Street Trapper is, then you got to get up on these guys. If you're trying to build generational wealth, you got to start replacing your regular everyday content you consume with content that's going to lead you down the path to building wealth. He said this: the hardest thing in the world to do is own a successful business. The easiest thing to do is invest in one. Listen, man, y'all gotta get this. He said the hardest thing in the world to do is to own a successful business. But the easiest thing in the world to do is invest in one. Meaning, everybody ain't cut out to build and grow and own a successful business. But for you to not own a piece of a successful business is no excuse, especially when we spend money with these successful businesses every single day. If you own an iPhone and you do not own Apple stock, let's change that. If you own more than one pair of Jordans and you don't own any Nike stock, let's change that. Right? Come on, man. We got to get serious about building this generational wealth. If you drink Starbucks coffee every day and you don't own a piece of Starbucks, let's change that. If you bank with Chase Bank, Bank of America, and you don't own any stock in these banks, let's change that. Right? I'm going to give you an example that he gave and how this changes and transforms your ability to do business. He said he lost right at the beginning of the pandemic. This is Wall Street Trapper talk. He said he lost his business bank card, his business credit card. So he calls to get a replacement, and they're like, man, it's gonna take 7 to 14 days for us to get you a new card. You know what he said? He pulled his shareholders card. He said, listen, call this person right, who's over the shareholders, and let him know that I own 1,000 shares of this bank, and ask him if it's acceptable that you're going to take 7 to 14 days to send me a new card. They got him his card in 2 days. Why? Because the banks work for the shareholders, y'all. So if you don't understand anything else about moving and grooving in this economy, you need to be owners of the things that you're consuming every day. That is the quote of the day. Again, the hardest thing in the world to do is to own a successful business, but the easiest thing to do is invest in one. I'm going to show you how easy it is if you stick around to the end of today's episode, because I'm going to show you a fund that's paying double-digit returns like nothing. So that is Wall Street Trapping. Make sure y'all go follow my guy. He's a solid dude and bringing Wall Street to the culture in a way that we can understand it. So quote of the day is brought to you by myperfectmoneyplan.com. Listen, guys, I've got 9 spots available. If you want to learn how to get paid for bringing economic empowerment to your community, I need you to text me new stream to 314-874-6887. I've got a financial education business model that you can buy into, and I'm going to personally coach you and mentor you on how to build a brand in this space. And if you haven't figured it out, man, the money game is where the money is. I'm going to say it again. The money game is where the money is. If you're going into any business, I'm telling you, the most evergreen and most sustainable industry is a business in the financial education, financial services industry. So text me new stream and we'll get you rocking and rolling. So there's 2 main banker secret that I want you guys to understand today. And then we're going to go all the way in, man. I'm going to show you why it's important to understand how to use this information. It's one thing to hear this information, but I'm going to teach you how to use this information today. So banker secret number 1, a lot of you guys are familiar with, right? It's called the rule of 72. It simply says this: if you take 72 and you divide it by the interest rate that you're getting or you're earning on your money, that tells you approximately how long it's going to take your money to double. Let me ask you this: who's earning the most interest on their savings account right now? If you're earning 1% on your savings account, drop a 1 in the comment, because most of you are. Matter of fact, most of you are earning less than 1% on your savings account. So if we apply that to the rule of 72, 72 divided by 1% or divided by 1 equals 72. So if you got $10,000 in the bank and it's in your savings account where you're getting 1%, that means it's going to take 72 years for that 10,000 to double to 20,000, right? 72 years. So you see why you cannot get rich at the bank. They're not paying enough for you to get rich. Now, here's the other thing that's happening to that $10,000 that's sitting in your savings account. Robert Kiyosaki is famous for saying savers are losers, right? And a lot of people got that because that's usually what happens when you have been indoctrinated with lies. Somebody brings you the truth and you get mad at the person bringing you the truth versus being mad with the people who told you the lies. It's the funniest thing ever to me. He said savers are losers. Why? Because if you got that $10,000 in the bank and they're paying you 1%, guess what? Inflation averages about 2 to 2.5% every year. So your money is losing value by sitting in your savings account, right? Think about it. The cost of living in this country doubles every generation. Every 18 to 24 years, the cost of living doubles, right? So if we're paying $4 for a gallon of milk today, in 18 to 24 years, a cost of milk, a gallon of milk is going to be $8, right? Every year, every age generation, the cost of living doubles. So think about it. Your $10,000 every 18 to 25 years is going to be able to purchase less. Half is less. So you have to figure out at all costs, how do I get my money to double, or how do I get my money to grow faster than the rate of inflation? So if you're making 1% interest on your money, then your money doubles every 72 years. Watch this. The average 401k in this country, if you're saving in a 401k, you're beating most people because most people aren't doing anything. So it's better than nothing. But the average 401k in this country is kicking out, after all the taxes, after all the fees that companies charge to manage the 401ks, is about 4%. So let's run that through the rule of 72. 72 divided by 4 is what? 18, right? So that means if you have money going into your 401k or sitting in your 401k, for that money to double is going to take 18 years, right? Now, this is better than 1%, but is that the best we can do? Most people have been trained to believe that a 401k is the best place to put your money. And it's not a bad place to put your money, but most people with their 401k have never looked at it since the day they set it up. Most people, because they don't understand and won't go and get a financial education, do not even know how to change their allocations in their 401k so that they can get more, better returns, right? You need to figure out if the name of the game is to build generational wealth. And if you're like me, not only am I trying to build generational wealth, I'm trying to enjoy some of the wealth myself, right? Meaning, I don't want to accumulate and amass this money at 80 years old on my way out of here. I'm trying to amass it by 55 while I'm still young enough to travel the world 2 or 3 times, right? So I need to figure out, how do I get my money to double faster than the rate of inflation, first and foremost? But what is the absolute fastest that I can get my money to double, period, right? Now, that was banker's secret number 1. But there's another banker's secret that you absolutely must understand and you must come to grips with in order for you to learn how to play this money game to win. And we're going to get to that one on the other side of 1 Minute Motivation. Now, you guys know that I love 1 Minute Motivation. It's a part of the show where we play a short 1 minute motivational clip. I'm going to ask you to comment a couple of your takeaways. I'm going to give a couple of my takeaways. And personal growth and self-development is something that I just believe in wholeheartedly. So you got to always be putting positive things in your mind if you want a positive output to come from your thoughts, your words, and your actions. So now is the time in the show where we're going to rock out with 1 Minute Motivation. Go ahead and jot down your biggest takeaways and put those in the comments. This is 1 Minute Motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show.
And I say to you, you're going to have people to do things to you. Things are going to happen to you. And the most important thing to do is to harness your will and let it go and move so you can grow, so you can get on with your life. It doesn't matter about what happens to you. What matters is, what are you going to do about it? All of us have experienced some tragedy, and if we haven't, we will. And you can either let it destroy your life or you can build upon it. You can permit it to let it hold you down, or you can decide, I'm not going to let that happen to me. I'm bigger than this. Make a declaration to yourself. Declare all out war that you're going to get out of this rut. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how talented you are. I don't care how much you work on yourself. There are some times when things aren't going to go right. They just are not going to go right. There are times when anything that can happen will happen. Murphy's Law will be knocking at your door. Why? I don't know why. That's called life. And you have to deal with it. Sometimes your life will be in a slump, just like sports. Some of the best shooters can't hit baskets different times in games. They get in a slump. Do they sit on the sideline and say, I just didn't hit a basket today? No, they continue to execute. I suggest to you that if you are facing a challenge, don't stop.
Hoo-wee. It's called life, people. It's called life. It's not about what's happening to you. If you can switch your mentality to start thinking about this is not happening to me, it's happening for me, right? And then the question is, what are you going to do with it, right? ET says you are already in pain, get a reward from it. What are you going to do with your pain? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a reward from it, period, right? Let it go. If you guys haven't checked out Will Smith's Fault versus Responsibility clip, it is a game changer. We like to hold on to whose fault it is that I'm in this condition, whose fault it is that I'm in this pain, whose fault it is I'm not where I want to be, whose fault it is that my credit is jacked up, whose fault it is that I didn't learn about money. It's your responsibility to fix it. So damn whose fault it is. You worrying about whose fault it is only delaying the inevitable that you got to get to work to fix it. So I do admit that it is my fault. I ain't going to fix it for you. You still got to fix it. So stop waiting on the person who caused you trauma, to cause you harm, to cause you pain, to come back and say they're sorry, to admit that it is their fault. It's your responsibility to fix it. Let it go. Move on. Right? He said you got to declare all-out war on your situation that you're getting up from here. That I'm moving forward. I'm not staying here. Period. Point blank. End of story. You got to declare all-out war that I'm going to let this situation go. Doesn't matter whose fault it is that I am in this situation. It's my responsibility to get out of this situation. So I declare war on this situation that I'm getting up from here. End the story. End the story. Some of you are trying to figure out the how. My mentor, Brian Bean, talks about when I was at my last conference and he was coaching us in leadership. He said, stop worrying about the how. If you have the what and the why, if the what is big enough and the why is strong enough, the what will show up. Or the how will show up. I know for a fact that me building men to become financially literate and lead their households from a financially dominant place will transform our communities. Because if they make money more efficiently, they have more time to be with their family. They have more time to lead in their communities. So that is the what. The why, because I'm raising 5 sons. And if I don't get it right financially myself, then I can never impart financial wisdom to them. And that means my grandchildren stand a greater chance of becoming financially illiterate. So if I am feeling this way at 47 years old, that I've got a strong desire to bring financial literacy and economic empowerment to my sons, I know that there are fathers all over this country thinking the same way. They just don't know where to turn. So I'm taking the mantle on my shoulders saying, hey, turn to the financially lit communities. That is the why. How are you going to do all this stuff, Cortez? I don't know. But because I know what I want to do, I know why I want to do it. The universe owes me the how. And it's going to start revealing that to me every single day. Okay, Cortez, what are you doing to transform your finances? How are you doing it? Well, I partner with the Extra Digit Movement. The Extra Digit Movement turned me on to MWR Financial. MWR Financial gives me financial professionals in every area of my life at an affordable price. And they give me a game plan. They coach. They do the stuff for me. So that's how we're going to expose these fathers to the transformation that they need in their finances. But I didn't start with the how. I started with the what and the why. That is, ladies and gentlemen, 1 minute motivation. And my wife is about to come running in here because she always say, why are you hollering at them people? Sorry, I get a little passionate. I get a little fired up, man, when I start talking about the vision that God has given me to transform this whole St. Louis region. We're going to have wealthy Black men in this region doing some amazing things because they finally have somewhere to go to become financially literate. So speaking of which, that is 1 minute motivation brought to you by the Extra Digit Movement, man. Listen, if you understand the importance of financial literacy and you want it for yourself, we've got a program for $79 per month. But watch this. For another $50, you can actually become a business owner, get the same program, and get paid for bringing economic empowerment to your community. I want to help you build a brand. I'm working with 12 people this month, got 9 more spots available. So if this sounds like something you want to do, A, you want financial empowerment for yourself, B, you want to be a catalyst to bring this economic empowerment to your community, then I need you to text me new stream to 314-874-6887. So we're talking the banker's secret, right? The last place to keep your money, because when you understand, right? Brian says, good stuff, bro. Was that Les Brown? Yes, that was Les Brown. That whole clip was Les Brown. And matter of fact, if you go to the show notes or if you watch this on YouTube, the link to that entire video is also in the show notes and in the description on YouTube. So what is the banker's secret? One of the banker's secret, the one that most people know, is the rule of 72. I take 72, divide the interest rate that I'm getting on my money into 72. It tells me how long it's going to take my money to double. If I'm getting 1% at the bank in my savings account, then 72 divided by 1 is 72. That means it's going to take 72 years for my money to double. If I'm getting 4%, which is the average on the 401k after fees and all of that kind of stuff, 4 goes into 72 18 times. So that's why it seems like your 401k isn't growing, because the percentage is so low. Now, here's a good thing that you need to know about there are other funds available in your 401k, but if you are not financially literate, you don't even know what to look for within your 401k to get a better return. Right? And if you stick around to the end of the video, I'm going to show you some funds that you could look for that pay out double-digit returns and have been paying double-digit returns for the last 40 years. It's bananas, right? But I want to give you the banker's secret number 2. When you get this one and you really let it ride in your spirit, you will never look at money the same way. Banker's secret number 2 is this. Banks do 2 things. They buy currency and they sell debt. We got to stop looking at banks as institutions built for our communities and stop looking at banks as our friends. Banks are businesses just like any other business, and there is a war for every business to extract as much money from consumers as humanly possible, and banks are no different. They've been set up in our communities as something that we need, so we feel that they are our friends. But no, Banks are businesses just like any other businesses, and their primary goal is to increase profits for shareholders. How do they do that? They do that two ways: buying currency and selling debt. And when you think about the buy-sell model, what is the buy-sell model? It says, I need to buy the thing that I'm selling for as cheaply, as inexpensively as I can get it. Then I need to turn around and sell it for as much as I possibly can. So how does that work in banking? Before COVID, right? Well, let's go back to our grandparents' days. See, the reason that we save money in the banks, and that has been drilled into us, because our grandparents were able to save money in the bank. And when they saved their money in the bank, they could put their money in, and that money, I think I got my math wrong. They could put their money in the bank, and their savings accounts for our grandparents did pay 7 to 8%, right? Anywhere from 6 to 8. So money grew. So your grandparents are telling your parents to save in your bank accounts. Save in your savings account, and your money is going to grow. Just don't touch it. Well, that worked for grandma, for granddad, for big mom, because the banks in the savings account did actually pay out 6 to 8% in some cases. Not today. The average savings, the average interest rate on the savings account is less than 1%. So we cannot use that outdated information to build wealth, because it no longer works in the 21st century, right? I said 72 divided by 4 is 18. Okay, that is right. All right. So grandma, when she put her money in the bank, right? 72 divided by 6. So grandma's money doubled every 12 years, right? And if she was saving for 30 years, then you could see why every 12 years her money had doubled. So grandpa thinks that if you save in the bank, it's the best place to put your money because it works for them. That don't work for us today, y'all. So the other banker's secret is banks buy currency and they sell debt. So I want you to think about this. If they were paying 6% to use your money, right? Then basically they're buying your money for 6%. They could buy the money from the Federal Reserve at 2%. So where would you buy the money from if you had a choice? I can buy it at 6% or I can buy it at 2%. Well, of course, I'm going to buy it from the Federal Reserve because I can get it for cheaper, right? And I can turn around and sell the debt for higher. I want you guys to write this down in your notes. Wherever you hear the word interest, there's a loan involved. Wherever you hear the word interest, there's a loan involved. This is the other banker's secret that nobody knows. And those who do know it don't talk about it. When you put your money in the savings account, no matter how small the interest is, they are paying interest. So what does that mean? That means you are loaning the banks your money. Oh, we've been duped, y'all. They pay out an interest, no matter how small that interest is. It could be 0.000000001. Doesn't matter how small the interest. If they are paying out an interest for your money being in their institution, what that really means, y'all, is they're not doing you a favor by giving you a safe place to put your money. They just bought your currency for less than 1%. Yeah, man. This is what they're doing. I told you they do two things. They buy currency and they sell debt. They can buy it from the Federal Reserve at 1 to 2%. But why would I do that when I can buy it from you for less than 1%? And I can encourage you to keep your money in a savings account forever. Now, I bought the money from you for less than 1%. Now, even though I just bought your money, say you got $10,000 in your savings, right? But you want to borrow $20,000 to buy you a new car. I'm sitting on $10,000 of your money that I bought from you for less than 1%. You want to then borrow money from me. I want to sell you some debt now. Remember, I told you, I want to buy, if I'm the bank, I want to buy your money for as cheap as I can get it. And I want to sell you the debt for as much as I legally can. What does it take for you to open up a bank account? A simple one-page sheet of information, proof of your identity, social security card, and driver's license. Boom. Now I can buy your money from you. But what does it take for you to borrow money from the bank? You got to fill out a 40-page application. They got to look at your history for the last 10 years. Wait a minute. I'm just trying to borrow some money from the institution that's holding $10,000 of my money. And you have the audacity to tell me no? Because we've been trained to think that a bank is what we need. We've been trained to think that the bank is high and mighty from a financial IQ standpoint. No, a bank is a business selling a product or service. They buy the currency and they turn around and they sell debt, and they sell the debt for as legally as they legally can. That's why they started to stretch car loans out for 10 years instead of 5, because the more time, the more interest they can tack on. You guys got to understand that. Now that you know that, does it make you see banks differently? They're not your friend, y'all. This is a business transaction. I'm saying that you walk away from the bank. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying understand the relationship in truth. That's what I'm saying. You not my friend, Mr. Banker, and you not gonna make me believe that you are my friend when I'm on the consumer side. Now, going back to something that Wall Street Trapper said, I'm gonna put a link to that interview in the comments too. He said the way you change the relationship and you put them to work for you is when you own stock in the bank. See, if I'm banking with Bank of America, and this was an eye-opener for me, I've got my personal checking and my business checking with Bank of America, and I don't own any shares of Bank of America. He said, why would you do such a thing? Because on the consumer side, they ain't my friend at all. But I start accumulating enough shares. Now I got to say so. Now I got a position. Now the CEO actually works for me. Now my perspective on the overdraft fees that they're charging people changes, because the overdraft fees equal revenue for the bank. Revenue for the bank equals dividend for me as a shareholder. We got to start changing our relationships, y'all. Get out of this consumer and start getting in the ownership side. It's crazy, right? Now, I promise you guys that I will show you where you get double-digit returns on your money. But before I go there, I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to pull out my investment calculator. You guys got to see this, because the one thing above anything else, in my opinion, well, there's two things that's keeping us from building wealth. Number one is our financial IQ. It's way too low, right? Now, even though I'm telling y'all and y'all learning and y'all growing and y'all developing mental toughness, a greater financial IQ, the other thing that's going to keep you from building generational wealth is one word: sacrifice. Sacrifice. See, I'm going to show you right now what $500 a month can become for you in the next 20 years. And some of you guys are saying, well, Cortez, I don't have $500 a month to invest. Sure you do. If you're willing to make some sacrifices. Sure you do. You're going to have to sacrifice some time. You might sacrifice some status. That's the big one. Nobody wants to sacrifice status. If you live a certain lifestyle now and people see you a certain way now, the last thing you want to do is downsize. It's the last thing you want to do. It's the last thing you want to do is downsize. Because if you downsize, people think that I'm struggling or I'm suffering. No, I'm slowing down to speed up. Right? So let me show you this investment calculator real quick. I'm going to go to monthly periodic investments. And I'm going to show you if we invested $500 per month. Let me do this. Let me move my branding. And for those of you who are watching this or listening to this on the podcast, all you got to do is go to thecortezhustleshow.com if you ever want to see what we're doing on the show. If you go to thecortezhustleshow.com and you search for Banker's Secret, then this episode will come up and you can see the actual video of what we're doing. And you can always see the videos on and the replays of every episode is on thecortezhustleshow.com. So let me share my screen and let's talk about this real quick. Sacrifice, y'all. Are you willing to make some tough sacrifices today so that your tomorrow will be extremely better, right? So if we say $500 per month, we're going to say 16% rate of return, and we're going to say a generation is roughly 18 to 24 years. So we're going to say 25 years. What can $500 per month in the right investment vehicle become over 25 years? Let's calculate and see. All right, look at that. So if I'm serious about building generational wealth, and I know that two things that's holding me back is my financial IQ. I don't know where to put the money to get 16% return. I don't know what 16% can do for me because nobody has ever showed me a financial calculator, right? But I know now that I've got the financial IQ, Cortez is going to show me where double-digit returns actually live, so I'll know what to do with the money. But will I be willing to make the sacrifices to free up $500 every single month? In 25 years, I'm 47, 57, 67, so 72 years old. I can have $1,956,521.95 accumulated for my sons, which is my next generation, right? But watch this. Here's why financially lit fathers is so important to me, because we're not only acquiring the financial IQ to execute ourselves, but also what happens when I teach my sons, who my oldest will be 29 this year, he starts doing this at 30 instead of waiting until he's 47 to do it. Not only will I leave him nearly $2 million and a business, that $2 million, once he splits it with his brothers, plus my life insurance and all of that stuff, once he splits that with his brothers, then he adds that to whatever he's growing, because I'm teaching him now, like, bro, the time value of money says you're losing time if you don't start investing today. You don't have to do $500 a month if you start at 30. You can do what I do at $500 a month starting at 30 with $200 a month. But you got to be willing to make the tough sacrifices, y'all. Right? Or you guys put the word sacrifice in the comments. Now that you know, are you willing to make the tough sacrifices so that you can do what's necessary to bring in or to free up $500 per month to start investing to build a $2 million portfolio in the next 25 years? Some of y'all are not 47 years old. Some of y'all are younger. Are you willing to make the tough sacrifices? That's the question, y'all. That's the question, right? Are you willing, if you are a family, are you willing to downsize your home instead of living in a home that's $1,500 a month? Could you downsize to a place that's $1,000 a month, and you take that $500 and you put it in your investments? Are you willing to sell your car, take that revenue and take the profit and buy you a used car that you own cash, and instead of paying a car note every month, $500 a month, car note plus insurance, and you pay that $500 a month into your investment account? And then you just maintain the used car, right? Something I'm wrestling with my sons about. They all got decent used cars that are reliable, but they, of course, want to jump in something new. And I get it. I've been young before. I wanted to be fly. I wanted to be, but listen, I'm trying to tell y'all, y'all do it my way. By the time you're 35, your assets will be paying for your fly stuff. Right? It's a whole different mindset of thinking. So you're saying to yourselves right now, well, Cortez, you talking, if we invest in $500 per month at 16% rate of return, where in the world can we get 16% rate of return? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me show you. Right? This is fidelity.com. Now, I don't have any affiliation with fidelity.com. I'm not a rep. I'm not telling you to invest your money with fidelity.com. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. I can't take your money and invest it for you. This is my disclaimer. I'm just showing you what's possible, right? That's all I'm showing you, what's possible. Now, when you look at these investments, some of you guys have 401ks. This information has to be given to you in your 401k. It's there. You just were never trained and taught on what to look for and where to look for it, right? So if we look right here, this is what's called the Morningstar Snapshot. Morningstar is a third-party organization that reviews funds and they give them a rating. So right now, the overall rating, this is a 5-star fund. That means it's really good. It says the returns on this funds, are they low, are they average, or are they high? It is above average, right? Everything that I do in my life, I try to be above average. The expenses, are the expenses low, average, or high? This is the cost that Fidelity will charge me to manage my money in this fund. They are they're below average, right? The risk category for this fund, is it low or is it higher? Well, it's trending towards the higher side. Why? Because the returns are greater. When you know how to look at this stuff, now they want you to see, okay, if this is what the fund is, this is what a third party is saying, that this fund is pretty good, right? It's called the Fidelity Select Care Portfolio, right? So this is a healthcare fund. So they also have to tell me, how does the fund perform, right? Year to date, today, this year, 10.67% is a year to date. 1 year, 24, 55 in the first year. The first 3 years, it was 18. The first 5 years, the first 10 years. These are all averages over time. So you can see how the fund performs over time. This is pretty cool. They also must show me what companies is this fund investing in, right? And in this case, this is a mutual fund. So that means there's a combination of stocks. They own stocks of these companies, but more importantly, there is bonds. What are bonds? Bonds are loans. So these companies are actually borrowing money from this fund, right? So if United Health Group wanted to add a new location and they needed $4 million to renovate a building and bring in all their equipment and stuff, they might, instead of going to a bank, they'll come to this fund and say, hey, we need to borrow this money. They'll set up the loan, they'll set up the payments, and boom. So not only do they own stock in these companies, this fund owns stock in these companies, this fund is also lending money to these companies. So United Health Group, Humana, Boston Scientific, Cigna, Eli Lilly, Centene Corp, these are all companies that we are familiar with. So it also has to tell us what companies are in the fund. Then it gives us a hypothetical growth situation. It says it's 2021. So 10 years ago, 2011, if I had $10,000 in this fund in 2011, in 2021, I would have, let me see, $53,182. That's this number right here. So it's telling me that if I knew about this 10 years ago and I had $10,000 sitting in my savings account, if I just moved that $10,000 over here, 10 years later, that $10,000 is now $53,000. This is how the rich get richer, because they understand how to get their money to grow and work for them, right? Then they must also tell me who manages the fund, right? So this guy has been managing this fund since 2008, Eddie Yoon, right? Then they have to tell me who's his team, right? So I go further down. I want y'all to see this. Not only do they have to give me the 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, they also have to give me the entire life average of this fund. Since this fund came into inception, the average has been 16.8%. Let's see when the fund came into inception. In 1981. Now, I'm not the best at math, so 81, 91, 2001, 2011, 2021. That is 40 years this fund has averaged 16%. Now, I'm going to show you guys one more thing, because you're probably thinking like I would think. Cortez, they probably want $10,000 for me to even get in this fund. Let me show you what the minimum cost is to invest. And again, I'm not telling you what to do with your money. I'm not licensed to do that. I'm just showing you what's possible. Minimum to invest, $0. The minimum to invest is $0. That means you can start a fund today, even if you don't have any money. Now, they will give you a set period of time where you actually have to fund the account, right? You got to seed the account with something. But right now, today, you can start right now with $0. And then your next payday, if it's this Friday, you put $20 in there, $50 in there, $100, $500, whatever you want to put in there. Question is, are you willing to make some tough sacrifices to start putting some money in there? That's the question. Now, this is just one way to build generational wealth. And a lot of people say this ain't even the best way. But this way is a better than a nothing at all, no way at all approach, right? Guys like Wall Street Trapper, you think that 16% is something? They know how to invest in individual stocks and companies. And sometimes an individual stock can do 20, 30, 40% return in a year. This is more of a set it and forget it type of deal. It's like, hey, I'm going to set this up every payday. I'm going to have X amount of dollars come from my check going into this account, and I'm just not going to worry about it. Every year when I do my taxes, I'm going to review it, see what's it. Boom. That's kind of this type of mentality. And some of us, this is the perfect mentality for us. It's like, man, I don't really want to know all of this stuff. I don't have time to learn all this. Whatever your reasons are, this is perfect for some people. Some people want to be more aggressive. Some people want to go after the greater gains in the shorter periods of time. But if you play in the long game, there's one way to play the long game. All right? Not the only way to play the long game, but it's one way. So now you guys see what the banker's secret is. If you haven't learned anything else, learn this. When your check goes direct deposit into your bank, your bank gets to do two things with it. Your bank gets to take your money and go put it in an account like this, so that they're getting 16% and they turn around and give you less than 1%. The other thing that the bank gets to do, because we have what's called fractional banking, that means for every $1 that goes into their system, they can loan 10. So every $1 that goes into the bank becomes 10. Some people say becomes 20, right? But I know by law, they can lend $10 for every $1 they have on deposit. It's crazy, y'all. It is crazy how the system works. And you need to know how the system works, because if you don't, it will continue to work against you. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you want another stream of income, if you like this kind of stuff, you want to learn this stuff, you want to start teaching this stuff to your family, you want to start teaching it to your community and get paid at the same time, I need you to text keyword new stream to 314-874-6887. Again, text keyword new stream as if I want a new stream of income to 314-874-6887. I look forward to working with you. I work with groups of 10 to 12 at a time. So we're having a special right now. Instead of $229 to get started, it would be $129 to get started. And I want to help you become financially literate for yourself first and foremost, but we got to bring this stuff to our communities, y'all. And this is a way that you can become an educator in your community and bring them sound, practical financial strategies that can help the average working American increase their cash flow anywhere from $500 to $1,500 every single month, and will help them with what to do with that money to grow generational wealth. So till I talk to you guys tomorrow, I want you to get your money up, because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you. Now hustle up. But you've got to overcome fear if you're going to win.
You're tuned into the Cortez Hustle Show. Please like and subscribe.